What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine. Happy Friday. Big weekend coming up. Got the Canes baseball. Tough loss yesterday, 3-2 on a web gem there at the bottom of the ninth that took away potentially a victory for the Canes. Look to bounce back this Friday. Today on Friday, I should be out there. So if you head out there, say what's up. But a lot of recruiting news. You've landed the number one player in the country. You've closed on the number 3 portal class in the country. Now it's time for everything else, right? So I'm going to try to catch you guys up on recruiting with the absolute latest in the bank, which if you listen to the show, the bank, we told you about Jackson Cantwell being more of a factor than people thought back in, February. That, hey, guys, I know everybody's talking about Kanye Pepe, talking about some of these other guys. Do not sleep on Jackson Cantwell. And we're all wide awake now, man. So fired up, talk about recruiting. First, I want to talk about some folks that stay number one overall. That's Anajar and Levine, accident attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, get in here.
Good morning, D.
How we doing?
Doing great. Was out at the baseball game last night. Great time out there. Obviously, tough loss there, but great crowd, man, for a Thursday night. Shout out to Cam Gorby and the whole crew who was out there. We got a big group of people out there last night supporting the team.
I know. I'm bummed that I missed it. I was at the hallowed grounds of Kendall Hammocks. Shout out to Kendall Hammocks. She owned by CanesInSight fans. So shout out to that whole crew out there. Did a great job. Cam short, late rally at the All-Star game, but E-Money got a hit and made some nice plays at center. So it's a good day overall. Hoping to bounce back here today.
I've been meaning to shout out now for like a week. My boy Alex at the Coconut Grove Sailing Club, by the way. Appreciate you taking care of us last week, man. Thank you for supporting the show.
Yeah, shout out to Alex, man. Shout out to everybody that supports this show. Meet so many people out there in the mix. Shout out to all the truckers, because I know the truckers are working hard to keep this country rolling. They listen to podcasts all day, get them through. We're a long one, so we take up some time on that trip. So I can appreciate all you guys and what you do for this country. Casey,
yeah, man.
look at 6 a.m. here in Portland. Bank on the way to work. No better way to start a Friday, man. Portland in the summer, not that many better places. My dad grew up in Milwaukee, so I make my way out there a bit. So hoping to get out there probably this summer if I can swing it. Let's see. A lot of recruiting stuff to get to, though, this summer. I don't know if I'll be able to make it out.
We got the Panhandle checking in here. Raising a cane, 850. Appreciate you. So, and listen, D, by the way, we'll talk some basketball recruiting at the end of the show as well. Got a scoop to share. I posted on the board yesterday. I'm in the mood for some doner kebab today, my friend.
I like the Iskander kebab myself, but man, yeah, this is going to be, I'm excited about this one, man. Talk about it. That's going to be fun. But yeah,
people have been asking for the basketball stuff. It's been a little quiet, but stay tuned. We'll talk about a big one that is going to be, added to the class here soon, added to the team. But of course, we know you guys are here for the football stuff. It's been a big week with the Cantwell news, and I would think there's some positive momentum building, D.
A lot of positive momentum, a lot of stuff to talk about here. So I'm going to just kind of keep it simple. I appreciate you, Clutch 22. Got a question here. With JC signed, who do you believe is our highest priority target next? College, Cooper, or Russell? I would say probably Cooper and Russell. How about that? I would say Cooper and Russell. We got the number one player in the country. Has a pretty big check mark, right? Out-of-state kid. We got the number one tackle in the country, according to the composite. I know 247 thinks differently. We did a little video on that. But according to the composite, number one tackle in the country. So that's a big check mark. 2 check marks that we need to get done. You got to keep the best players in South Florida. Best players this year, you're talking about Derek Cooper, the running back out of Chaminade, Calvin Russell. So those guys right there at the top of that board. Got Truth over Falsehood wants to know, before we get to the bank, why can't we pull in elite receivers even from our own backyard? We're going to lose Russell as well. We're like kryptonite. I don't think we're going to lose the top receivers this year. Look, we got some. Go ahead.
I don't think that's the question he was talking about, by the way. He had a question from the beginning, which
Let's see. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Truth over falsehood. You know how certain positions always commit. I appreciate all your support. I know you're in here every day. You know how certain positions always commit to specialized coaches due to their track record, i.e. Heartland and wide receivers, Riley and quarterbacks, Raymond and CBs. I know we just got Cantwell, but why does it seem like such a struggle to get top OLs when we're the top 2 OL coaches in America? I mean, listen, to go put this in perspective here, this is Miami. This is the Miami Hurricanes. We do not have a local recruiting ground for offensive linemen. That's number one. Number two, where offensive linemen are typically located, let's say the Midwest, right, as a primary place where Jackson Cantwell is from. There's big-time schools around there. And the Midwest is not Miami, Florida. So you are a lot of times in a geographical, demographic disadvantage for these offensive linemen. Francis Mauigoa is from American Samoa, which if you have a map, which you can just look at Miami, it's American Samoa. I know he was an IMG before that, but I think what Mario has been able to do, that we're even in these conversations and in fact winning these battles like as frequently as we are, if you compare it to the past, it's night and day. And I think I did a story here. Let me see if I can find it. But basically, if you look at blue chip offensive linemen out of state, we have never at the University of Miami landed really good offensive linemen out of state consistently. It just was not something we were able to do, certainly in the period of struggle after Butch Davis. Think about it. Pete, we got Chantrell, right, which was a good one, and that was kind of a weird situation. You got Eric Winston as a tight end. That was really early in right when we were winning championships. So it's other than that, it's been a tremendous struggle to go out of state and get these blue chip linemen. So to get not only blue chip linemen, but the absolute best in the business, I think that shows you the strength of Mario and Mirabal as offensive line recruiting. Not to mention the fact that we've had a top 5 offensive line in America the last 2 years, and we're going to probably have one this year. So that's ultimately what matters, is what shows up on the field. And I think the fact that you inherited an offensive line that was terrible. I mean, we were really bad. 2022, which we did have Mirabal and Cristobal, but with other players, it couldn't have been worse, right? And then the first full year where you had their guys, top 5 offensive linemen, or offensive line, which I thought we were in 2023. Just because TVD threw picks didn't mean that he didn't have all day. Then last year we were top 5, certainly. Cam Ward had all day to throw. And then now this year we bring back pretty much everybody. So, yeah, 3 straight top 5 offensive linemen, landing number 1 offensive lineman in the country, top 10 offensive lineman, top 10 player, maybe the first overall offensive lineman projected for next year. I think we're doing pretty good on that offensive line.
I will say too, because Truth Over Falsehood said here, and he says we lost Pepe this year and lost other top O-linemen in Texas a few years ago. I'm not going to say that the Pepe thing's over yet. He's firm with USC right now, but I don't expect Miami to give up there. Going to be a tough one. And then also saying, he said it's still not a slam dunk to pull these top O-linemen like this for Raymond, Hartline, and Riley. Look, I know Jeremiah Smith ended up there, but I think that Hartline and Ryan Day, when you saw Ryan Day in that press conference on Sunday, would tell you that definitely wasn't a slam dunk for them either. They got the job done without a doubt, which is what Miami did here with Jackson Cantwell.
Yep. And one more thing I want to share here, because this was David Lake, my guy there, 247, had a great stat which blew my mind, and I want to just share it to this point, just to put this in perspective. Okay, look at this. Since 2023, which was the first full recruiting class for Mario Cristobal, remember 22 is the transition class, Miami has added more 5-star trench recruits than any program in America. That's everybody. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. You have Cantwell now. This includes commitments. So Cantwell now, Mauigoa, Okunlola on the offensive line. On the defensive line, Blunt, Justin Scott, Marquise Lightfoot. And you don't even have to throw in Hayden Lowe, who's a 5-star for 247 and not on the composite. So trench recruiting is where it needs to be on both sides of the ball. Now you got to get the defensive line to match the offensive line. If you have an elite offensive line, which I think we will, top 5 nationally, and then you have a defensive line that plays top 5 nationally with all these 5-stars, now you're talking, playoff ready, right? And that's what we all want for the Miami Hurricanes. So we'll get back to more questions, but I want to get into the bank here, Pete, and just some let's start with Jackson Cantwell, because I know he's already committed, but I checked in with sources just like, all right, now we got the guy. Let's talk about what you really liked about him, stuff that just mattered internally besides the obvious stuff. They think he's the most physically powerful prospect in 15 years, right? The best shot putter in America, one of the best shot putters in high school ever, and someone who benches 500 pounds as a 16-year-old with 33-inch arms, 6'7". I mean, that's pretty unusual, right? So I think, and big hands, the power in the hands is absurd from the shot put, and it all translates on the field. So most physically powerful prospect in 15 years, super smart. One thing that sources relate to me is they were very impressed with the way Cantwell handled some of the questions that he got at his press conference. They're asking him tough questions about NIL. There's national reporters writing big stories on him. He's on the front of everything. Hey, there you go. Shout out Los Bomberos. Appreciate you downtown, man. I know you guys are working to keep this city safe. I worked I still work in the Brightline building, so I pass by that station all the time. So appreciate you. Appreciate Los Bomberos, the firefighters, everybody working to keep this city safe. Listening downtown. Appreciate you guys. So with Cantwell, to answer those questions the way he did, which if you haven't seen that press conference, check it out, what he committed. And he's taking these questions. He's turning on the reporters. He's carrying himself like a pro, and like a good media pro, not just because not all pro players are good with the media. He's carrying himself like a media savvy pro, did amazing. And he's just a super smart guy, 33 ACT as a freshman. But on the evaluation, like they say, he knows that he has work to do in pass protection. But when he settles into football, Mirabal coaching him up, how conscientious this guy is and his physical tools, they think it's going to be a very, very quick transition to get him ready to where he needs to be. Whatever his ceiling is, which is a very high ceiling, they know he's going to get it. One thing I wanted to add, because we talked about the power numbers, we talked about the size, the length, the intelligence, all those unique measurables. 4.7 in the shuttle, right? So for a 6'7" tackle, when you're in that 4.7 range in the shuttle, that's moving, especially when you combine it with the unusual power that he brings. So really a special package of traits when you talk about Jackson Cantwell. So that one's done. They feel confident he's going to stick, and they're over the moon, as you can imagine. I'll go position by position here. It's not going to include everybody, but it should be a pretty comprehensive look at what we're looking at with the bank. Quarterback, done. Darion Coleman. That's the quarterback. Running back, Javion Mallory, committed. Other two names in the mix. Jay Lamar, who's from Moultrie, Georgia, Colquitt County, Georgia, which is the home
of Nikar,
home of Bonner, Kamal Bonner, the linebacker that just came in from NC State. So Miami has a little bit of foothold there. It's a small town. He says these are all his cousins. When you're in a small town like that, everybody kind of has some sort of family connection. So that gives us, I think, a better chance with a blue chip SEC back like Jay Lamar, with all the SEC big boys after him, top 10 back in the country. And then Derek Cooper is, like I said earlier, he's priority number one just overall in the class. I mean, Jay Lamar's, all these guys are high priorities, but Derek Cooper being local, you can't miss this dude. So Georgia's after him. Ohio State's after him. We visited him right after we got Jackson Cantwell. He commented on Jackson Cantwell's commitment post. There's, an awareness there of what Miami's doing. But that one's going to be a battle. I think Miami will get it done, but they need to get it done. So we'll see. Cannon Pickett on the offensive line is the name I think to watch as far as who's still out there. I would keep my eye on Cannon Pickett as someone Miami has momentum with, someone Miami wants badly. They're battling Clemson. Clemson was Cristobal there for a minute. I think they still are, actually. But Miami's made a lot of ground up there. He's a legacy kid. Miami's been recruiting him forever. I think Miami will ultimately get that one done, and that's going to be a pretty nice offensive line. We talked Joel Irvin, Congdon, Jackson Cantwell, J.J. Sparks, and then Cannon Pickett there on the inside. That's a nice little group. So I think they'll be able to get that one done, and that's a high priority in the offensive line. Wide receiver, Calvin Russell, we talked about, high priority. Just got offered in basketball. So Jay Lucas just offered Calvin Russell in basketball. That's going to help tremendously with his recruiting. So keep an eye on Calvin Russell. Vance Spafford, a guy, you don't hear his name a lot with the Canes because he's committed to Georgia. Small, I say small, he's not tiny, but he's a smaller slot receiver from California, but is like elite speed, elite talent from Mission Viejo. I mean, this guy's what's he ranked? He's number 9 receiver in the country, number 75 overall player, 5'11", 175, big time speed. He's in the 10.6 range in the 100 meters. As a sophomore, caught 83 passes for 1,500 yards, 22 touchdowns. I mean, this guy's just supremely talented, man. I saw him in the 7-on-7s when he was a sophomore, I want to say, and he was burning everybody, burned raw 7-on-7 with all those Dade County guys and all those good national guys. So Vance Bafford, he doesn't get talked about a lot. He's committed to Georgia. He's from California. You say, is this the kind of kid that goes to Miami? Visited unofficially this summer. Loved his unofficial visit. I believe he said it was his best unofficial visit. Do not sleep on Vance Bafford. Jason Lopez, the star two-sport athlete from Chaminade, one of our favorite players. He's still in the mix. Of course, Tristan Keys, number 1 receiver in the country. He's still in the mix. Braden Robinson from Texas, speedster. Messiah Hampton from New York. All guys to keep an eye on. I'm leaving a couple of guys out, but those are, to me, some of the big names to know at wide receiver. Tight end, I got some interesting news. We could take 3 if they all want in. So don't be shocked if 3 tight ends get in this class, which is a lot, but these are versatile players. So you're talking about the 2 guys we talked about a ton. Hezzy Kemp from Brunswick, Georgia, the big 290-pound freak show. Zach Turner, the kind of H-back, really more of a big receiver, but he's 225 plus, I think, already. So he's going to have enough size to play as an H-back tight end from Duncanville, Texas, Dallas area, really talented, fast receiver. And then Izzy Briggs from California. That's a name that Miami's recruited hard for a long time. He recently came available with a decommitment from, I want to say, one of the California schools. Let me just confirm that. But he's a 3-sport athlete, track star, basketball player, 6'5", a little over 200 pounds. He was committed to he's from Redwood, California, so up there in northern Florida. Yeah, he was committed to Arizona State, and then he decommitted. He's going to visit California. He's going to visit LSU. He's going to visit Texas A&M, and he's going to visit Miami on June 16th. Keep an eye on that player. He's a stud and really, really talented. So you could see 3 tight ends if they all want in. Defensive end, Ashari Charles from Venice, Florida. He's Cristobal to Miami. Got a great shot there. Tank Jones from Alabama. Guy to keep an eye on. Name that has not been mentioned here anywhere, I don't believe. Cozy Opala from Houston. Very talented defensive end. Let me pull up the specs on him. But he's a talented defensive end from the Houston area. Mady Creek, 6'2", 230. Got a crystal ball to Texas, Baylor, Houston, Penn State. The schools you'd expect to be in the mix there, but Miami is one of them. Also ran track. This is a guy who also had carries, right? He's a running back. So he's a really talented player, very versatile, the kind of guys you see develop into NFL players.
I wonder if he's related to your boy KZ Okpala.
Could be. Could be, man. Could be. I watched way too much of that guy's summer league performance. But yeah, so he's one to keep an eye on, Cozy. Jaquez Wilkes, Jason Taylor visited him over there in Alabama. We talked about this kid. He visited unofficially this spring. He likes Miami a lot, man. I saw this kid. He's in practice. It looks exactly the way you want. Very, very talented. Another guy that can play offense, can play defense. Just one of these freak show edge players with a ton of versatility. You always see these guys when you look back in the NFL draft and you watch their high school clips and they're doing a little bit of everything. He's one of those guys. Daniel Norman, super talented, big defensive end from St. Thomas, just kind of scratching the surface, local kid from Aquinas, and then D'Anthony Lafayette. That's what you're looking at defensive end. I like that room. I think I like that board. I think we got a shot at some of those guys. Defensive tackle, Vodney Cleveland, Deuce Geralds, Kendall Gorville, and James Johnson from Fort Myers area. Lamar Brown, the recent 5-star, he visited this spring. Keyshawn Stencil had a real good visit there. We saw him in the spring evaluation. He looked awesome. And then Bryce Perry Wright from Buford, guy that can play end, but really probably going to grow into a 3 technique. I think he's in that 5-star conversation right now. He's someone that visited and Miami likes a lot. Linebacker, Jordan Campbell's committed from Northwestern, which we'll talk about in a second. Is becoming a powerhouse here with Teddy Bridgewater. Jermichael Garrett, he's right there on the board. Justin Edwards, guy to keep. We've not heard his name mentioned. Julian Manson, right? So Julian Manson is a name that I don't think we've talked about on this show, or I haven't heard his name mentioned anywhere. He is from Iowa City, Iowa, 4-star player, number 1 player in Iowa according to the composite. Obviously, Iowa's in the mix there, but Miami's after him. 6'4", 215-pound athlete. Minnesota is also in the mix there, but if he wants to get out of that area, Miami will happily give him a home. J.J. Edwards from Orlando, we talked about him. Juju Barnes from Neville High School in Louisiana, Monroe, Louisiana. Same hometown, same high school as Will Campbell, the guy that just went to the New England Patriots in the draft. So he's somebody that I don't think we've talked about, but he's a name to watch, Juju Barnes. Adam Boligan Ali from Palm Beach. They're going to watch him today, I believe. This is a spring evaluation period, so a lot of guys are getting seen here across the country, but Miami likes him, and they're checking him out in person. Xavier Griffin, who just decommitted from USC, kind of the annual USC decommitment. They're on him hard, or they will be on him hard. They're on him hard already, but they'll continue to be on him hard. We'll see what happens there. They'll take their shot. Cornerback, you got commitments from Xavier Edwards. Xavier Edwards. I'm watching too much Marlins. From Jalen Waters, from Jalen Waters from Sefner Armwood, Jontavius Wyman from Atlanta, Georgia, and also Clinton Portis' son, up there in the DMV area. Actually, I believe he's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte. I was going to say Charlotte, yeah.
Charlotte, North Carolina, sorry. All competitive. I will say that Jalen Waters, they saw him in spring doing their evaluations, and they think he might be the best corner in the country. Samar Matthews is up there. We're still poking around there, but they think Jalen Waters is a day one type, competitive, nasty, giant, can run, can find the football, can tackle. I saw him at the overtime 7-on-7 with Javari Flowers and Portis and a bunch of other guys, and I thought the best one by far in that tournament was Waters, and that was before he was committed. I was just like, man, this guy, he looks different. His size is just unique, and he's aggressive as well, and he can run. So put that on there. That's kind of a day one type player. I mentioned Samar Matthews, Chauncey Kennan. We saw him in person from Sarasota Booker. I would say the guy to keep an eye on from this list, Brody Jennings, Michigan commit up there in Jacksonville, brother of Bradley Jennings, who was a Miami Hurricane linebacker. Miami loves Brody Jennings. Some other local names, CJ Hester from Cocoa, Danny Odom, another Florida cornerback. So those are some names at the cornerback position. We already got 3 guys committed, but you'd like to add one more there. Safety, Devin Jackson from Orlando. We talked about in the past, kind of combine freak, decommitted from Florida, right there at top of the board. Blake Stewart, Miami really likes Sam, saw him in spring. Jacob Eberhardt from St. Louis, who visited this spring. 220-pounder, kind of like that safety linebacker combo. Also played receiver in high school. I think he'd probably start at safety, but ultimately maybe grow into a linebacker. He'll get a shot at safety if he comes to Miami, but I like him a lot. He's one of my favorites. And then Nate, to keep an eye on at safety, to Darius Hughes at Northwestern. Local kid committed to FSU. Local sources are telling me this guy's really, really improved this summer, had a growth spurt, just starting to look like top end, high end safety prospect. Miami will see him in the spring game tonight at Northwestern. So keep an eye on that player, to Darius Hughes. And that's the board basically. Kind of missing some names. Those are some names. Those are really the names to know. I asked, I wanted to find out who really stood out on these spring visits, because Miami, this is a spring evaluation period. So they're getting out there and they're seeing guys, right? They're seeing players, and it's a huge opportunity because a lot of players physically, mentally, skill-wise grow a lot from their first exposure to the spring exposure, right? This is the important part about continuing to evaluate players, because they're not finished products when you first lay eyes on them as juniors. So you want to know who is who and what is what. So Keyshawn Stencil, I thought these are guys that really impressed on this tour. Not exhaustive list, but just some guys that really stood out on the visits. Keyshawn Stencil, defensive tackle. Brody Jennings, we talked about from Jacksonville, the corner. Darion Coleman, the quarterback commit. Joel Irvin, the offensive lineman from Fort Myers. And I've said it before, to me, this guy is a 6-star. I mean, I think this guy's every bit as talented as Jackson Cantwell. He is elite, man. We are so lucky to have this dude. The fact that I don't get mad about 247 dropping Cantwell to 10. He's still a 5-star. Everybody's going to have their own opinions. Joel Irvin being a 3-star is malpractice. It is negligence. It is completely insane. Anybody that looks at Joel Irvin and puts 3 stars next to his name is watching a different sport than I'm watching. Joel Irvin could have never played football and just said, hey, I'm going to play football, and looked how he looks and move like he moves and talks like he talks. To me, that would be 4 stars just off rip. So, and the fact that his film is good. So insane to me that a guy this smart, this big, this athletic is not a 4-star player. He should be a 5-star player, in my opinion. I know other schools, big schools, college football playoff, high end, like elite of the elite schools have been out there and said, this guy's insane, and so the big schools are getting on to him, but he's committed to Miami. So that's one. Hezi Kent, our favorite, Superman, the big tight end, 290-pounder from Brunswick. I heard he looked really good. Bryce Perry Wright, the defensive tackle, defensive end from Buford, looked good. I mentioned Jalen Waters, looked like a day one pick. Danny Odom, the corner. Devin Jackson, the safety. Calvin Russell, wide receiver. Like I said, he just got a basketball offer. That recruitment, I feel good about the direction it's going for the Canes. He got the basketball offer from Jay Lucas. His best friend, Malachi Toney, had a great spring, played a ton. That makes a big impression that he's able to come in and make a big impact. You got the number one recruit, so it's just momentum kind of with the team. You had great passing production last year that he saw the whole season. It's not like he's already committed when Cam Ward's throwing all those passes. He saw all that already before he made his commitment. So I think Calvin Russell's a guy to watch. Syracuse has always been strong there from a relationship standpoint, from a basketball standpoint, but Syracuse stinks. They just lost their top receiver because who wants to be there? So I'd keep an eye on Calvin Russell. Blake Stewart looked really good when we visited. Vance Spafford again, the wide receiver from Mission Viejo, California. Put that name on your radar, Canes fans. That's a big time battle looming with Georgia where he's committed. Defensive end Ashari Charles, we're in a good place there. And then I mentioned Jaquez Wilkes, the jumbo athlete from Alabama. Those are some names that just looked real good on our spring visit. So that's the bank, man. That's what we're looking at, and it's going to key up. This is recruiting season, so you better be liking and subscribe to this show because we're going to be on daily, giving you the absolute latest, in recruiting, in everything. But recruiting is going to be hot and heavy for the next few months before we get to camp. So like and subscribe to this show, and yeah, man. If you want to recruit some lunch, recruit some breakfast, recruit some of the best Cuban food on the planet Earth, Islas Canarias Croquetas. You already know. 40-plus years of serving Miami, Florida, winning award after award. Best croqueta in Miami, best Cuban sandwich in Miami, best Cuban restaurant in Miami. I'd say best restaurant in Miami, right there in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion. It's been in the old brick and mortar big restaurants out there in Tamiami, but they've moved to a very convenient, or they've opened a new convenient location here, right there in the Dining Pavilion with all the classic items of the big restaurant. 7 different types of croquetas. Empanadas, handhelds, desserts, pastelitos, all kinds of things. You can get that at Islas Canarias.
I just noticed a new one I've never seen here. Buffalo cauliflower croquetas. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. They got the stuff for the people like me, man. They got everything. They got the old me and the new me taken care of. JT. Send me an email, CanesInsight@gmail.com. It says we're hiring writers. Always interested in people, want to write and contribute to Canes Insight and show their talent. So send me an email, CanesInsight@gmail.com. And any inquiries anybody has, whether you want to advertise, whether you want to put out content, CanesInsight@gmail. That's the best way to reach us. We're always ready to talk to people. So anyways, man, that's the bank. Any reaction there, Pete?
No, not really. Honestly, when you get in that groove, man, it's like you step into the booth and start freestyling, man. I can't really hop in and and interrupt what you're doing there.
Yeah, had to do that, but yeah, man, it's interesting because there's so much energy on the portal, and so then you go straight from the portal to Jackson Cantwell, number 1 player in the country. Now it's like, all right. You never stopped recruiting, but now there's a lot of other stuff going on. So you got to make it happen, man. It's a big class. It's got to be a top 5 class, I think. So I want to show this. Our new friend Jackson Cantwell just posted on Twitter something that I think is pretty cool. There you go. Look at that. Look at that grip. Very close grip. Bench press right there.
Full screen.
Let's go.
Oh, get the sound off.
Here we go.
You got to remember. You got to remember to hit when you share a screen.
Yeah. I know, Pete.
Mess up our audio.
I'm trying to work on my production skills. You're trying to mold me into a producer. But here we go. So there's Jackson Cantwell, for those who are listening in audio, and his father, Olympic silver medalist, right there, spotting him. That's a pretty good spotter. 470 pounds with a closed grip, meaning his hands are closer together than usual, making this a much more difficult lift. At least for me, these are more difficult. This guy's doing everything pretty easily. 6'7", man, 33-inch arms. To be able to bench press 475 pounds like this, I know he can do 500 as well. We've seen him do that with good form. You see it bouncing right off his chest. And this is a guy who has 33-inch arms. So pretty elite. And I know you love what he's wearing. Him and his dad decked out in Canes gear. Pretty cool. Ulysses Perez, Closure Investigative Agency. Shout out. Personal private investigator right there. Ulysses Perez, CIA. Appreciate you. Asking what's the word on Derek Cooper. Like I said, we visited Derek Cooper right after Jackson Cantwell committed. Obviously using that kind of momentum. This is going to block. This guy's going to block for you. That's going to be a battle down to the end. I think Miami's in a good spot just because he's local, because Miami has some momentum, and Miami's prioritizing him in a major way. So we'll see. Nick Isaac says, anyone that benches presses 500 plus is absolutely absurd, regardless of age and height. Yeah, no doubt. But when you add the context of the fact the guy's 16 and he's 6'7", it's even crazier. His dad, by the way, who's shorter, not short, but he's, shorter. He bench presses 630, or at least he did in his prime. So, I mean, these guys are monsters, man. And what jumps out to me, the 4.7 shuttle. Some of these big guys, they can lift a lot of weight, but they're stiff. This guy's functionally powerful. The shot put is different than the bench. There's a lot of functional power to that. You got to move around, so that's a different thing. It's a lot through your hands. It's not your chest only. It's your power through your hands, power through your whole body. So the fact that he's elite at shot put, just like Jonathan Ogden, some other great offensive linemen throughout history, that gives him power through his hands. He obviously has that incredible explosive power from the bench as well. And then he's a 4.7 shuttle guy. And then he's long. And then he's smart. And he cares a lot. Parents are both Olympians. So check. Number one player in the country, Miami Hurricane. Pete, I want to get into some comments. You got the comments queued up from Mario here with that interview with McElroy. See if you can find those, because there was I'll send you a clip here. So yesterday, Mario Cristobal went on ESPN with Greg McElroy, went on his podcast, a good podcast. McElroy, I thought, did a good job, asked some good questions. He knew what he was talking about when it came to the Canes. And it was a pretty interesting conversation, pretty candid conversation. Talked about Beck, how, they think he fits the offense. How about, he didn't really have very good protection running game last year. Mario's pretty open, or McElroy said it. Mario just kind of agreed with him that
he said he agreed with. He said that he the way he stated it was exactly what they think, pretty much.
Yeah, Mario's not going to be taking shots at Georgia or anything. I think he's pretty good relationship with Kirby Smart. They're both at Alabama together, so he's not. That's not going to be what he's talking about. But it was very interesting to hear him say that they had the same evaluation as McElroy, and they think that the running game, the offensive line, being a more quarterback-friendly system, Shannon Dawson versus Bobo, is going to help. He didn't say all these things. These are things that McElroy said, and he didn't push back on. Let's say, Pete, I just sent you the link in the comments. So that was interesting. But then when it came to the defense, I thought Mario was extremely candid as to what happened last year on D. So, Pete, why don't you go ahead and cue up that clip so we can hear Mario Cristobal talking about the difference between maybe this defense with Heatherman and what went wrong last year with Coach Guidry.
Coach Heatherman's defense really fits what we have recruited here at the University of Miami. We recruited to be built as a 4-down operation. Guys that can really get upfield, be disruptive. And, last year we morphed into an operation that was unrecognizable. We were doing, again, we're past that now. We're moving forward, but this really fits our guys. Ruben Bain is a really disruptive, explosive player. So is Akeem Mesidor. So is, Armando Blunt. So is a guy like, Malik Bryant, Hayden Lowe, Booker Pickett. There's a lot of guys that are really good. And then inside, Ahmad Moten, the pickup of David Blake. Justin Scott's been phenomenal. Dante Simpson is a young guy that's really coming on strong. There's a lot of explosive players that maybe were out of position last year playing, in some, I guess some of those movements and stunts just didn't fit what we had. And it was confusing for our linebackers and our back end to be on the same page, which really caused just some monster big chunk plays against us that really hurt us. So Corey Heatherman is really smart. He's tough. He's got a ton of energy. He's got answers to his defense. Communications at a premium, and he leads the charge. He coaches it from the front to the back, and he's been awesome to be around, and we expect some significant improvement on that side of the ball.
It just feels like this move is kind of, all right, less is more. Let our dudes be dudes. Is that a fair assessment of what this defense might look like?
I think it's from the inside out, but not from the outside as it relates to opponents seeing what we do. I think just the way that the terminology and communication that go with it allow us to play really, really fast. So in essence, it's digested in a more simple manner. In terms of the look itself, I think you'll see some base stuff, but you'll see some exotic stuff as well, without confusing our players.
That's pretty candid there from Mario, man. I think he's probably let out more than he wanted and then pull it back. Mario's not like a Lane Kiffin that wants to be taking shots at coaches and stuff. That's really not his style. So I think when he said that the defense looked unrecognizable last year, he kind of pulled it back and said we're moving on. But everything I know is that's basically the internal feeling is the stunts, the movement. And I talked to a high-ranking personnel guy with one of the best teams in the NFL, and he said, yeah, man, I had no idea what Miami was doing on defense, all those stunts, movement, all that. And this was before Guidry got fired. This was during the season. So that's something that I think a lot of people have questioned. And look, the question I've seen in the chat, people are asking, hey, you hired this guy, meaning Cristobal hired Guidry, so you knew what you were getting. And that's fair. I mean, look, the head coach takes responsibility for what the assistants do, right? Especially when it's their guys. I mean, he hired them. So it's not like a passing a blame, but it's just kind of, hey, we hired this guy. We had some success the first year. And then last year, we just got away and things went in a direction that we didn't anticipate. And they moved on quick. But I think it's the right adjustment going to a Heatherman and somebody who it's simple in terms of where you line up, your assignments, but it's very detailed in terms of technique. It's similar to Manny in that way, except I think more of an emphasis on physicality, more of an emphasis of technique, less just kind of getting around guys just to get around guys, more going through guys or angling guys, edging guys, just getting in the right technique to physically execute your task, but not having to worry about moving around, all these different shifts. So the very difficult communication. Communication was terrible last year. That's a huge emphasis of Corey Heatherman. So what Mario said there is what I've heard internally. And I think what we've seen, whether it can get done, who knows? I mean, again, we felt good about Guidry when he got hired. We felt good about Guidry after the first year. We were worried about losing to LSU. So it's not always, hey, just fire the coach and everything is great. But at the same time, we've seen Manny replaced D'Onofrio, and our defense goes from the hundreds to the tens in all the major defensive categories instantly. I mean, year to year. We saw Dawson replace Gaddis, and we saw an incredible increase year over year, and then a giant jump this past year with Cam Ward. We saw Rhett Lashley replace Dan Enos, and again, immediate difference in the offensive production. So we've seen these things happen kind of year to year. Will that happen this year? There's no guarantee of that. But I think what Mario's saying there was a pretty candid assessment of where he thinks this defensive front and this defense as a whole went wrong.
Man, what I took from it was the first name he mentioned on defensive tackle was Ahmad Moten, and then he also threw Simpson's name in there as well as the fourth name at D tackle. And we've kind of been saying, watch out for him as that fourth D tackle. I think that right now I would think he's just above Artavius Jones in that room right now.
Yeah, we'll see a battle there. We'll see defensive ends play D tackle as well, but just on Dante Simpson, I'm a big believer. Look, practice is practice. It doesn't always translate to the games. I think when you consistently do it in practice, like Restrepo, Horton last year, Arroyo, it does translate to games, but not always. But I'm a huge believer when it comes to like young players and first impressions. When you see a freshman and they look good right away, like not even in full pads, and you're like, wow, who's that guy? To me, that usually translates. I think of David Njoku, who redshirted and ended up being an NFL player, first rounder, Pro Bowl type player. I remember his first practice as a 3-star. I came on CanesInSight and I said, this guy's a guy. Alan Hearns, I remember that as well. His first practice came on CanesInSight. I said, hey, Alan Hearns, right? A lot of these guys, Clive Walford. I remember Clive Walford, who was a very raw redshirt guy. First practice, I go, this guy's going to be a player. Ended up being, I think, top 3 in the Mackey Award, All-America type. So first, and that's not because I'm some super scout. It's because anyone next to me would have said the same thing. It says when you see when they are a like maybe a 3-star player that shouldn't be a 3-star, it doesn't take the layperson long, especially someone who's been on Green True for a while and kind of seen it, to figure out what's going on. So with Dante Simpson, Pete, we talked about it the first practice, no pads. I'm like, man, Dante Simpson, Pete, this guy's something. And we kept talking about it and talked about it on this show pretty much every day. And now you're seeing Cristobal talk about him. True freshman.
Yeah, it was like the 3rd or 4th practice, a former player / coach staffer at Miami who was at practice, who's not at Miami anymore in any role, but I asked him what he saw, because he was able to see some stuff that I didn't get to see. And the first thing he told me was, man, some of those freshman D linemen look good, like physically. And the first person he mentioned was Dante Simpson. So that was very early on in spring.
Yeah. By the way, so someone's saying, hold on, let's see what he said here. FTW said, you said Njoku switching to a linebacker. I didn't say that. Golden tried him out a linebacker, which I actually think was a smart move because, he's redshirt. You might as well see what they can do. But I always liked him as a tight end. In fact, here's my first report on David Njoku. I'm quoting it exactly how it was. David Njoku. This is from August 29th, 2014 on CanesInsight.com. 7.4 million posts and counting. Here's David Njoku. This guy is going to be huge. Watching Njoku reminds me of watching Clive Walford in 2010. He's going to fill out into a monster. The difference is that Njoku's a lot more explosive than Clive. Njoku has really big hands on several occasions, high pointed the ball over our scholarship corners. The areas he struggled with, blocking, route running, will improve with time. He'll redshirt, but he's one of the most impressive physical specimens in this class and has enough natural football instincts. That's a pretty good scouting report for August 2014 on a 3-star. FTW. I know you're just kidding.
It's easy to get you worked up, D.
That's what I love about
all you have to do is drop an old evaluation.
But that's what I like about these things is on CanesInsight. You could just search and you go back like to 2011. Although I'm scrolling through here, there's some pretty bad ones as well. There's some good ones. There's some good evaluations. I know I have Joe Brown listed as a pleasant surprise. I don't know what that guy's doing now. I have Braxton Barrows. I like this, though. Braxton Barrows, first line, future fan favorite. And that was pretty good.
That was very good.
Brad Kaya, our most advanced freshman quarterback since Dorsey. I think that was actually accurate. He didn't lead the ACC in touchdowns as a true freshman. Joe Yearby, I had him developing into a Bishop Sankey type player. I don't think that was very accurate. Sankey was like a 2nd rounder. Tyree Brady. I'm just going, this is a blast from the past. I know this is not very good podcasting, but I'm excited.
Tyree Brady ended up being a really good player at Marshall.
Yeah, he was. Tyler Grimsley. Remember him?
Yeah, center,
Michael
right?
Weish. Yeah, I'm just looking at all these old names. This
Mike Weish.
Funny to read back in retrospect. Yeah, not bad. I'm just going through Michael Weish, man. I thought he was going to be the solution at defensive tackle. All right, so baseball. People ask about baseball. Baseball's been winless since JD Arteaga dyed his hair blonde. Yeah, that was a bad luck. You don't know at the time, but it turned out to be bad luck. But listen, we're going to turn around here today against Notre Dame. Yesterday, 3-2. Hugas gave up a 3-run homer, our ace, and then really locked down after that. It gave us 7 innings of 3-run balls, struck out a ton of batters, but ultimately the offense didn't get enough. 3-2. Notre Dame made a web gem to end the game in a walk-off fashion on a hit from Renzo to the opposite field. That was a bummer. So you wanted to take that first one, but look, You got a chance today. It's the final series of the season. Canes are on a hot streak. Join us at the light. I will be there today and tomorrow. Free exclusive Hurricanes baseball cards for the first 250 fans. It's your last chance to cheer on the Canes at home. Pack the light. Finish strong. Grab your tickets now. MiamiHurricanes.com/baseball tickets. That's MiamiHurricanes.com/baseball tickets. Pete, I know you were out there at the light yesterday. You had a star-studded crew.
Yeah. I said at the beginning of the show, man, it was a great time. That Lucky Charms shake that's him. That shake is him.
Who was out there in your crew? You had a perfect game thrower. You had
Javi Salas. We had Filete, his wife. We had Chance Mack out there with his son, one of his sons.
You had one of the stars of Kid. You had one of the stars of Kid Island out there. You had
Kid Island. I don't know what Kid Island is.
you had the Miami Marlins play-by-play voice, Kyle.
Kid Island doesn't sound. I think it was called Kid Nation. Kid Island doesn't sound. Yeah, Kid Island doesn't sound like something we want to.
That sounds like it sounds like something that people take jets to, and has been in the news lately. Yeah, no Kid Island. Kid Nation. Kid Nation. Yes. I apologize.
No, man, it was a great crew. We had Big Cowboy out there, Jose Lasso. Great crew, man. Great crew. Shout out to everyone who was out there. And we got some basketball scoop as well.
Go, give it to us, Pete. This is what we've been waiting for.
So people have been waiting for this one, and people have kind of been, wondering why there haven't been any other people added here. Look, this staff was doing work, man. The staff was doing everything they could to try to get certain things done. And I can tell you now that the Turkish delight, I'm expecting Saleh Altuntaj, the Turkish sensation, 6'10", 10 points a game, 9.2 rebounds a game, led his team, Istanbulspor. They're playing in the second division in Turkey. I'm expecting Saleh Altuntaj to be a Miami Hurricane here in the near future. A big guy, much needed. I'm going to bring up his some of his clips here. And D, we were watching some of this stuff. I sent you his stuff last night. I posted this on the board. Again, expecting this guy to be a Hurricane, and you're bringing some real size to the table here. 6'10", really good footwork. Not a springy athlete necessarily, but can really do a lot of things in the paint. Knows how to use his body well. Again, the footwork, as you'll see here. Look at the screening and then cutting there and rolling, as you'll see throughout this tape. But I think this is an important addition. Gives you some depth inside, and a guy who's been playing against grown men
and producing.
Yeah,
right. He did good in the under 18s.
Yep,
that was a really nice play. What jumps out to me here, watching this guy, Pete, you sent me this guy at like 11 o'clock, so I went to sleep way too late digging on this dude. Obviously, both hands, he's good. The size, look at his legs, man. This is a big dude.
Yeah.
This guy is not. I think he's bigger than Sengun. I'm not saying he's as good as Sengun, but I think he's bigger than him. I mean, this guy looks every bit 6'10", heavy.
Yeah, heavy. In the pictures I've seen, he looks heavy.
I don't know if his shooting's that good. I think it was like a 48% free throw shooter. Didn't take any threes, so I think this is more where he's going to make his damage right there by the basket. One thing that I'm slightly concerned about is, you have Malik. Do we figure out, by the way, the pronunciation of the last name? I always thought it was
Renard. No, I have to. I'll ask.
Let's get it right, because I've heard watching the Indiana games, they've said it different ways. But anyways, Malik, the power forward from Indiana, who was Indiana's top scorer, even though he's not as big as this dude, he scores pretty much the same way right there in the paint with post moves. And then you have Ernest Uday, who's like your classic big rim.
Ooh, look at that. Oh, look at that little
nice, good hands.
Spin, drop, step, yeah.
So Uday is a rim running center. So those guys both like to play in the paint. And then you have this guy who also likes to play in the paint. Now, they're not all going to play together. It's going to be, but that's one thing I'm wondering is just, you got three guys that like to play in the paint. Your wings are more attacking type wings, right? With Henderson, guys like that. And then you have your guards will shoot, but I wouldn't say they're pure shooters. So the shooting is going to be a question, the spacing. But in terms of like talent, to have this guy we need another big. This guy is the other big you add. To me, is slam as from a talent standpoint. I mean, you're talking about a grand slam to get this guy as your next big up. We didn't have any. Can you imagine this guy's a backup center, assuming he doesn't win the starting job, which I'm not giving away?
Yeah, I mean, look, Udet played 26 minutes a game last year. He gets up and down the floor. You're going to need to spell him. You know, you want him playing as hard as possible. I think this guy, look, a lot of times these guys you bring in as backup centers don't give you much offensively. I'm not saying this guy's going to come in and, you know, average double digits, but he's obviously capable around the rim. He's not just going to be in there to say, all right, let's eat up some fouls. I mean, but look at him, look at the physicality, look at him deliver that physicality. I mean, he sees the mismatch there and he just takes it. Listen,
if you go small with this guy, you're dead.
Yeah. And look, I mean, this looks like a grown man that he's up against here. So, yeah, double him. You might have to double him. I want to see maybe his playmaking ability, you know, his passing ability. That obviously these Euros have you know, they're known to be really good playmakers. We haven't seen that in, you know, to this point yet. A lot of what we've seen is just you know, rolling to the hoop and finishing around the cup. But look at this. I mean,
great hands.
Yeah, really good hands.
Great hands, and he's thick. And I could say from a number standpoint, again, it's not like I've watched like a ton of these Turkish League games, even as I went way too deep on a dive watching this kid last night. His rebound numbers are outstanding. And then you just look at the rebounding tools. I mean, he has great hands, and he's big, and he's strong, and he has strong.
Yeah, he's
legs.
not getting up. He's not getting off the ground very high, but his hands are so strong that on some of those dunks, I mean, it doesn't look like there's any chance someone's going to stop it.
And I don't know what the wingspan is, but it looks pretty good. You know, he doesn't look like he's like a T-Rex out there. So the rebounding, I think, is going to be a huge strength, like particularly off the bench. And look, I mean, who was our best rebounder last year for the Canes? Because Lynn Kidd was not a very good rebounder. Brandon Johnson was not a particularly good rebounder. Matthew Cleveland?
I guess it was Cleveland, really.
I mean, I don't say this as a joke.
I would say probably Joe Bay was probably our best rebounder. Like, I don't know what his numbers were. Let me see.
I say this with all honesty. The best rebounder in University of Miami basketball last year was Haley Cavender. I mean, I say that honestly. Like, we did not have any good rebounder. She was the only good rebounder on like as far as like truly good rebounder on either team.
Kidd was the leading rebounder, obviously, but yeah, he was still only, I mean, he was at 7.1. Brandon Johnson 6.7. Matthew Cleveland 4.4. Nigel Pack with 3 rebounds a game, 4th leading rebounder of the team. That's actually pretty impressive, even though he only played.
But I mean, overall, we stunk there. I thought that was a huge weakness. Obviously, you lose Norchad O'Meara. That's one of the things that he was very good at. But yeah, that's what jumps out with this guy is that he really is a good rebounder.
Here it is. Here's some of the passing stuff. We got some assists here now.
And look, just because he's not Jokic, I mean, none of these guys are bad passers. Have you ever seen one of these guys that's not at least decent?
No. Well, they're taught the game at a fundamental level. Some would say better than you are here in the States these days. But
well, look, the NBA, the best players are all foreign. Although Anthony Edwards is coming through, Jalen Brunson, but yeah, man, look at there you go. I don't think he moves that bad, to be honest with you. I think he's pretty coordinated. I mean, he's not a jumper. But as far as like his movement skills, I think are pretty good. I got to be honest, Pete. I really, again, the fit to me was, we texted about it last night. That's my concern. Just like, how does this all fit together? This guy does not look like a backup to me in college basketball. I mean, he has a lot of skill and he's big, man. This guy's like he's a pro already. Is he going to be coming off the bench? I don't know. I don't see it.
It's a great problem to have, man. It is a great problem to have.
The problem is that you can't start this guy and Malik. I don't think.
No,
you'd be too clogged. I like Uday better as a backup. I don't know if you can put him on the bench considering how hard you recruited him. That's more his profile.
And look, I'll say this. It reminds me too, D, because we're here trying to figure out, you know, how is it going to come together, and obviously that's very important in terms of spacing on the floor and all of that. But I really think that Coach Lucas kind of looks at this as, I know what it looked like at Duke in terms of the body types, right? In the physical standpoint. he wants to have a team that you can just throw these bodies at other teams. And I think we're going to physically overwhelm a lot of teams. I really do. Even at point guard, right? Like Trey is a guy he's a football player, right? He's not 6'7", he's not a big guard, but he's 6'2", built like a football player and plays like a football player. Like he plays with that physicality. So I think across the board, you're going to have a team that is going to wear a lot of teams down. Now we'll see how it actually looks, right? There's still a couple pieces. Someone told me there may only be 11 guys. I don't quote me on that. But that would mean one more scholarship addition. So we'll see what happens there. But I think you got on paper have some real depth on this team.
And we talked about it yesterday, Pete. The size and strength. Like, let's just talk about the physical strength, right? Last year, you had Bethea skinny. You had Nigel Pack small. You had Jalen Blackman small and skinny. You had Lynn Kidd not powerful. You had Brandon Johnson not powerful.
There wasn't a lot of twitch on that team. No one who, we talked about defense obviously was horrible last year, but like no one who could really put the ball on the floor and drive by someone with a quick first step, not consistently at least.
That's for sure. But I'm just talking about the strength, right? So like we had a lot of guys that just were not strong, particularly at guard, but I think Lynn Kidd was not a physical presence at center at all. And Brandon Johnson was a stretch. So really the only guy that was strong to me was Matthew Cleveland, who had the best year. Now you flip to this year, you're talking about, Trey Donaldson is a bulldog, football player. He's strong. True is a defensive specialist, was one of the best defenders in his conference at New Mexico. Uday is a beast, big, strong guy. This dude, say the name again, Pete. I know you got it already perfected.
Saleh Altundash. Yeah.
Altundash.
So yeah, it's Altundash. So the S in a lot of Turkish is pronounced with like a J,
Altundash.
So, Altundash.
He's big and strong.
Dude, have you ever had Turkish coffee? I've heard great things. It's like unfiltered.
Kebabs, the doner kebabs.
Well, the doner kebabs, but Turkish coffee, it's like unfiltered. It's supposed to be very, very strong. You have like the beans almost are like the ground beans are like in the coffee. It's like part of the liquid.
Yeah, my cousin's getting married and his wife spent a lot of time in Turkey and they're having like a Turkish spa situation here for the family on Sunday. I can't go, but Turkish spas. I think it's like going naked. It's like they got some weird stuff going on.
Isn't it like a Turkish bath? Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah. But anyways, that's a big dude. Malik, strong, powerful guy there. Sheldon Henderson, probably one of the strongest guys in this recruiting class, right? I mean, he's a grown man.
Which, by the way, let me tell you something. You mentioned Shelton Henderson. I saw him drop in some rankings too after he committed to Miami.
Did he really?
As we were talking about Jackson Cantwell, them dropping him too.
He's still a 5-star though, right?
Let me see. I think someone dropped him from a 5-star. He's a 4-star and 247. I don't know if that was the case before. Actually, yeah. And on the composite, he's dropped. He was top. He was number 14 before. Now he's 23 on the composite. He's a 5-star on the composite still, but now he's number 3.
247, the culprit again. Maybe there is something to this.
I love. Look at this though. I love this on his page. You go to his 247 page.
Pull it up,
and he has Miami and Duke recruited by Jay Lucas. Jay Lucas.
I love it. You know who else is pretty strong too? The kid from Slovakia.
Yeah, Timotej Malovic.
He's not skinny Euro. So, I mean, and then Allen is a defensive specialist as well. Well, both, first of all, Dante Allen is big also. He's a big guard. He kind of built like Darren Williams.
I'm bullish on him. I'm absolutely bullish on him.
And then you have the kid from Missouri, What's his name? Allen. The
Marcus
other Allen. Marcus.
Dude,
He's a physical
this
wing.
team's got some depth, man. This team has, again, on
But
paper.
do you see what I'm saying, though, Pete? That like we don't have, like, last year, it was like if Blackman was covering somebody, I mean, that guy was in the paint. There was no chance. And if he took any contact, he was flying backwards. That was, and same Lynn kid, everybody. This team, I don't think we have one player that I would consider weak. And we know how they're going to get coached. We know what the philosophy is going to be on defense. So if you're asking me, again, you're more dialed in than anybody. And, bounce this off some of the people you talk to. I know you're in. I want to see if this is by design. I'm curious if this is kind of part of the plan. When I look at the identity of this team, big, grown men, physically, who you're not going to push around. I don't care what team you are in the country, because I just, top to bottom, they're all physical guys. Whether they're offensive specialists like this Turkish dude, I'm pretty sure will probably be further along on the offensive end, or if they're defensive specialists like True, these are not guys you're just pushing around.
Yep. Agreed. Exciting, man. As always, you know that the basketball coverage brought to you by Aries Law. Check out AriesLawPA.com. Again, this is estate planning. Guys, plan your future so others don't. AriesLawPA.com. Sign up for a free consultation. I know it's not stuff that everyone really likes to talk about, but got to get this done. Wills, trusts, probate, AriesLawPA.com.
Love it, man. And again, if you like getting Turkish professional players to potentially be backups, CanesConnection.com/CIS. Be part of the solution. No time to waste. We just signed on one player in the country. We're trying to win a championship in both sports, in all three sports, I should say, and women's basketball, number 5 portal class. Canes Connection is the best collective in the business. Be part of it. Be part of something special. Don't just be a fan. Be someone who makes it happen, who does things. CanesConnection.com/CIS. You put that /CIS in there, get access to a private Zoom. This Tuesday, I believe, we'll be sending out an invitation for this Tuesday. Private Zoom, talk about stuff I can't even talk about here because I don't want to get aggregated. Give you absolute latest on recruiting, the board, where guys stack. CanesConnection.com/CIS.
One last nugget here that I thought was pretty interesting, D, and he's been posting about it, so this is not like a secret. One thing that we have wondered is, Andrew Moran, who has been very involved with the draft processes of guys leading into the draft, top prospects, like as one of the top pre-draft trainers. He's at the combine now working with guys who were, in college last year, guys who are headed to the NBA now. So it seems like he's still going to be involved there. And I think that's great that he's able to kind of keep those connections on that side of it.
Love it, man. Yeah, I think Canes basketball is exciting, man. It's just, look, if you're Miami, where do you have an advantage? Miami players, South Florida players, and I would say international players, because if you're from Slovakia or Turkey, do you want to be in Miami or do you want to be in Topeka, Kansas? Right.
I'll tell you what, though, Illinois has picked up some big ones.
That dude that's getting drafted this year is sick. I'm a huge fan of his. What's his name? The kid, you know what I'm talking about, the wing.
Yes. Well, they've signed 4 or 5 Croatians, and they also just got Peja's kid.
Look, and they emphasize it, right? But and that's Chicago. It's still a pretty international area. It's close to Champaign, pretty close by. But if you're like really putting an emphasis on it at Miami, and then you get a couple guys, and then those guys do well, and then their friends and their cousins or their teammates say, "Hey, my guy just went to Miami and was all ACC and went first round." Now you got a pipeline. And I think you're going to ultimately play to your strengths as Miami to be able to get some of those players.
Johnny Lagoon says Chris Quinn was at the baseball game last night. Got to imagine there were legs to him being the head coach here. I texted you that I saw him. He was getting the VIP access to the Mark Light shake. Didn't have to wait in the line.
Notre Dame grad, by the way. I think that's why he was there.
Yeah. Obviously a big Notre Dame guy. I want to say he lives, in the area, obviously. And him I had heard, and the other name that I had heard who actually got pretty far along in the process of this thing was David Fisdale.
Interesting.
I don't want to say far along, but his name was definitely in the mix. It was Lucas. It was Richard Pitino was the guy who would have gotten the job if it wasn't Jay. And then Fizdale was actually kind of in the mix too in the earlier stages. But yeah.
Listen, man, I'm happy how it ended. And I'm happy where we are right now, talking about Turkish pros putting up big numbers as backups. I think we're in a pretty good spot. As long as 247 doesn't keep dropping our players. Man, I was defending him yesterday. Now the Sheldon Henderson thing got me upset.
Yeah, it happened like pretty immediately after he committed too. So, you know how it goes.
Duke Mafia. Anyways, man, appreciate you, Burstone. Let them know. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the show. Almost 1,400 on a Friday morning. We're on daily, man. You know where to find us. Subscribe to this show if you care about the Canes. Football, recruiting, portal, basketball, baseball. But we covered it all today. And again, the most exclusive info on recruiting and the most accurate. Ask anybody in the chat. They'll tell you what it is, where the most direct info is coming from. I mean, listen, I'm about to post Storm Sessions here live from the Hecht interviewing Bobby Marsh. That should post today. I mean, we're in the building, man. This is no secret how we're giving it to you so direct and accurate. So all free. CanesInsight.com. 7.4 million posts and counting. Biggest Canes community on the planet. Canes Insight Podcast Daily. Best community. Best commenters. Appreciate all you guys. Go Canes.
Go Canes.